being here. I'm inviting our CEO, Dr. Barrett Straub, to be a co-host. And then, Andy, can you change out that window? There you go. Actually, the first one. There you go. Awesome. Awesome. One second.
There you go. Now I can hear you.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep. I couldn't previously, but now you sound good.
Hey, we'll get there some way, somehow. It's just how it works with us. Or with me. I should just say with me.
We've just been doing, me too. We've just been doing Zoom every day since COVID, but we're still struggling.
What you don't know if you're an attendee here is that like the team makes this all work. We all have our expertise.
This is not ours.
Still trying to figure out what mine is. Well, thank you guys for being here. As always, first timers, if you're here for the first time, welcome. If you're here and you're part of the BPA community or active clients or team members, we're always so excited to have you back. And our purpose of this is really just to really help you guys. We love this stuff. And if Barrett would let me, I could do 3 hours on this one alone. And this is a good one. So I'm going to get fired up and get our slides on here. But as you jump on or as you're watching this, please add questions to the feed. And Barrett will let us, you're going to be our moderator today. And yeah, we want to answer all your questions. And then also the conversation continues back at the BPA, which I'll talk about in a second. But today's topic, super important one, is the profit blueprint. It's finding money in your practice. We're actually going to show you exactly how to do this step by step. And then we're also going to take you through of how it works. If you don't know already, we're practice coaches. This is what we do. So we coach really great practices from all over the country that aren't broken. They just are stuck. They hit ceilings. And so our job is to get them unstuck, improve their lives. And our whole tagline is better practice, better life. And that's everything that we do. Now, a couple things before we get started. Our To the Top Study Club in these 2 sessions is full. We have 2 sessions now that are full at 50 each. We just completed them for the first quarter. And we're going to be adding a 3rd session. Now, here's what's really cool. I always dreamed of starting a study club on our own, which would focus on all these elements. And now we have it, and it's growing very nicely. Dentistry is very lonely. It's hard to try to figure this stuff out on your own. And if you're in a place where you're like, I just need to figure things out, come hang out with us. Our To the Top Study Club, I believe in it so much that I'll give you a golden ticket. You don't have to pay for anything. We'll feed you. We'll roll out the red carpet. We'll give you all the information. We'll help you. And then if you don't love it, high five, go home, chalk it up as a good day and say, that's not for me. I know that won't happen. So come for, we had a dental student show up last time. I'm like, this is so great. And I asked her, did you like it? She's like, I loved it. I didn't even know this stuff existed. So if you're looking for a place, come hang out. You can come for free. It's our golden ticket. And you can contact Gina on our team, Gina, and she will be your personal concierge in the whole process. One more thing I'm going to be talking about a lot today. And your question might be, well, what do you do? We only do 3 things. We love this stuff so much, we've organized it into 3 different memberships. The first thing is you can just do this on your own. I'm going to show you a whole bunch of things to do. I'm going to actually give you the treatment plan, and you can say, thank you. We're going to do this on our own. You can, and you can do it back in the Best Practices Association. And a lot of people like to do that. The second thing you can do is you can do it in a group. You can come hang out and stay in the To the Top Study Club. And you'll see every quarter we have our live workshops. We also have our virtuals, and we also have our chat back there where everybody's helping each other. And you can do it in a group with other entrepreneurs who are very much like-minded like you. And then lastly, the third thing that we do, if you've tried everything, you're just like, I've tried everything. I don't even know where to start. Can you guys help me? Yes. We have our one-on-one coaching where we will make you do this. We will get it all organized and we'll hold you accountable to get some great results and turn the practice into what you want. And I only have one goal for everybody we meet. I want you to get out of your car. I want you to walk towards your building. And I want you to say to yourself, I love how I do it. And that's the power in this process, especially in the pro coaching. We hold you accountable to that vision. We also talk to your team in a way that you can't talk to them that way, and it's very positive, uplifting experience. We make change exciting. So if you're interested, join us at any level. And back there in the BPA app, we just launched our free version of the BPA app. So if you're on Apple or Google, you can go there now and you can get it for free. You could start the journey and you could start it in BPA Basic. You're going to see a lot of the tools back there. We also have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of master classes from the very top clinical minds in all of dentistry. And they're back there and you can, use them on your own in your own time, asynchronously. And then the other thing, just because we launched this little technicality, you have to search Best Practices Association. And that's where you'll find the app and you can actually download it. Again, it's on Google Play and the Apple Store. And I'll talk more about that today. So Barrett, you ready to go?
Let's do it.
All right, cool. So let's jump right into it. The profit blueprint and where to find money in your practice. Now, here's why this is so important. Number one, so many dentists feel like they're working harder than ever and they're not seeing the returns. We see it every single day. Dentists are producing more than we've ever seen. And some of them are writing off as much as 42%. And in some cases, I'm finding people that are higher than 50%, which means you're working 1 out of every 2 days for free. And they just keep working hard, and they don't have any money. We're going to change that today. And in this field of high expectations and financial success, because you look at the Facebook groups, you talk to your buddies, you go to the meetings, and everybody else is doing all this great stuff, and you think everyone is all successful. It creates this, unsettling, deep subjective pain. You're like, why isn't this working for me? We're going to help diagnose that a little bit today. And when those expectations aren't met, you start to question your decisions. Maybe I shouldn't have become a dentist. Maybe I shouldn't own my own practice. Maybe I don't know. Maybe you start questioning yourself all the time. And so selling to a DSO sounds great because you're just overwhelmed and you question yourself. I'm here to tell you there's nothing better than owning your own business and having it be profitable and choosing your hours, all that. So that's why this is important. It's also important because when you're unstable financially, you're just reacting. You're looking for the next thing. You're looking for a buying group for your supplies. You're looking to add another op. You're just making poor decisions when you don't have any cash on hand and you don't have any financial margin. I've been there. And then when you accept unfavorable insurance contracts, it just slows you down. And what they do is they have these barnacles and they catch other insurance companies and contracts that you don't even know. And they slowly slow you down and it creates more financial issues. And this stress you take home. When you work your tail off and you're like, I've never seen this many patients. I've never cranked out this much dentistry. And you look at your bank account and you don't have any money. It's hard to be a good dad. It's hard to be a good spouse. It's hard to be a good human. You're just stressed. And so we don't want that. And so we're just going to open the doors and show you exactly what we do and how we do it. And you can do this on your own. But if you can't and you struggle, we'll help you. Now, there's hidden money in your practice. That's the point of today. Some people come to us and they're like, man, I want to grow by 20%. I'm like, you're the last person that should grow 20%. You're already doing $2 million in production and you're exhausted. You don't need to grow. You just need to keep some of the money. It's the age-old adage. I don't care what people produce anymore. Actually, gross production is one of the most meaningless statistics in all of dentistry because it just doesn't mean anything. And I care what you keep, and I care how hard you work for it. So, Barrett, any thoughts?
Yeah, just leveraging onto that message is we hear dentists all the time say, I thought it would be easier. This is harder than I thought. Where did all the money go? And um, the financial gaps in this methodology is a way of looking at cash flow, where cash flows in and out of your practice. And once you grasp the method and grasp the philosophy, it literally will guide your strategic decision making from a financial basis for the rest of your career. And it's powerful to be able to actually plan for profit rather than get to the end of the year and see how you did.
Yeah. Now, here's what's really cool. The hidden money exists in the gaps. And when you understand all this, you can start to go to work. And every incremental improvement adds one more dollar to profit. I'm going to say that a couple times today. As I'm going through this, take screenshots of it. You're going to see our exact formula. You're going to see exactly how we do it. You could go back and create this on your own. But if you don't want to, we'll do it for you. That's how this all works and show you exactly how it works. I want you to get a lot out of this today. Now, one of my favorite mentors of all time was Dr. Peter Dawson. I'm going to sprinkle this in today. He said this, and I'm like, I don't know if I agree. And now I see it every day. He said, Kirk, it takes about 5 years to become an overnight success in dentistry. Like, if you really want to be a great dentist, you got to set the sail. If you want to move away from PPOs and do fee-for-service dentistry, it's going to take you about 5 years to make all these movements. I don't like going slow on anything, but if you're a PPO practice, you can't change. The pivot on that can't be 1 year. You have to know where you're going, and then slowly, year over year, you can make things better. And I'm a big fan of, it doesn't have to be perfect. Let's just make a little progress every single day. And when you do that, it's amazing. I'm going to show you how that works. And we're going to do this in a 4-year journey. Sorry, Pete. We're going to speed it up. I'll meet you in the middle, kind of. Let's do it in 4 years. And so we're going to walk you through the blueprint. Now, I'm going to make some big promises if you guys stay to the end. Huge promises. Barrett and I are going to show you the blueprint. We're going to show you how to find the money in your practice. And then we're actually going to go through the blueprint, and I'm going to make some huge promises. I'm going to show you how this practice can slowly and predictably improve everything, like their practice and their life, in 4 years. All you have to do is make tiny little adjustments. Tiny. Here's the first thing I'm going to promise. I'm going to show you how you can reduce the number of days that you're open by 40 days in this scenario. That's an extra 2 months off. The average dentist works 220 days a year. Don't do that. That's what the ADA says. We're going to show you how to go to 180 and make more money. The second thing is I'm going to show you how to increase your gross production per day by $2,000. It's not that hard to do. If you just think smarter about your schedule, we'll show you exactly how to do that. I'm also going to show you how to increase your gross production per year by $120,000. Now, that's important because we're not going to double your production. I'm actually going to argue that you don't even need to produce anymore. You just need to collect more. And so that's why I put this in there. $120,000 over 4 years, anybody could do that in their sleep. But we're going to keep the gross production low so that we keep more at the end of the day. I'm also going to show you how to cut your write-offs in half. In this scenario, this practice is writing off 33%, which means they're working 1 out of every 3 days for free. You don't have to go to 0. But what if you went from 33% to 15%? I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. I'm going to reduce the dollar amount that you write off by $129,000. That means it goes right into your checking account. And then I'm going to improve your net collectible production in the same scenario by $339,000 while working fewer days. I'm also going to decrease your overhead in this scenario by 14%. Everybody's talking about how you can decrease your overhead, but they've got all of their targets set the wrong way. They're talking about reducing expenses. I'm actually going to show you how you can spend more money in your overhead, but your overhead percentage will go down. I'm going to take your overhead from 72% to 58%. I'm going to help you think smarter about your practice. And in that scenario, you're going to have $104,000 more that you can invest in your practice. You're probably waiting to give raises, but you don't have any money. You're probably looking to invest in a few things in your practice, but you don't have any money. We're going to free up some of that money so that you can invest it properly in your practice. And at the end of the day, your profit and loss statement, the bottom, shows your gross profit. And I'm going to show you how you can show your accountant We got $278,000 more to play with this year. I know those are big promises, but I promise I'll make good on them. But before we do that, I got to show you how we're going to do it. The first thing you have to understand where the hidden money is, it's called the effort gap. Now, Barrett is the one who described this effort gap because he's a dentist and he did this process. But the effort gap is the difference between your gross production and your net production. Couple KPIs, and then Barrett, I want you to describe this. Couple KPIs I want you to measure as a result of watching this or listening to this. I want you to take a close look at your gross production. It's the total amount of dental services provided with your practice by your practice in a specific period. Now, one thing is a lot of people don't bill their full fee. So that's a whole nother side conversation, but you have to get your arms around what your true gross production is. Another KPI that's very important in this gap is it's the actual net production. So you've got your gross production and your net production. That's the collectible production. And in the middle, which separates the two, are your write-offs and your percentages. And it's the percentage of a dental practice's gross production that's deducted and not collected due to specific adjustments. Barrett, anything you want to say about this gap?
Yeah, I just want all the dentists listening to disconnect the idea that profit equals production. And sometimes, quite often, more production does correlate to more profit, but not always. And so when we see the whole picture, the financial gap picture, we can focus more on profit and know that production is only one of the gaps or one of the levers that can affect profit. And so when we talk about write-offs, when we talk about gross production, we're really talking about we need to know your true gross because that's your output. That's the potential output of your business. And output takes effort. It takes time, it takes money, it takes energy, it takes emotion, it takes people. And we have to put a value on that in terms of gross production because there is a limit to your output. And so the old adage of just produce more, produce more, produce more, why that doesn't work is sometimes you can't. Sometimes you're literally running too crazy and we have to disconnect profit from production so we can study our profit margin. And then when we need to increase it, we can look at how can we be smarter in our output? How can we be more efficient in our production? How can we, when we have output and when we have production, how can we maximize our profit margin so we don't have to always just work harder? We're really going to lay out a case for, work less and make more. And when you're able to do that, a lot of opportunity in life opens up, which we're going to, work you through.
I love it. I love it. I'll add one thing that Barrett said so well is, it's not apples to apples. If your practice does 2.5 million and you have a friend that does 2.5 million, that means absolutely nothing. You may have nothing in common. One writes off 40%, one writes off 10%. The one that writes off 40% has 12 team members, maybe 14 team members to run it, while the other one who writes off 10% or whatever might have 8 and makes twice as much money and works fewer days and doesn't work Saturdays and takes great CE. So I don't think it's good to compare production at all. It means nothing. And so that's a big deal in the world of, describing this challenge. Now, a couple things more about the hidden money. What's really important, and Barrett, you said this, I love how you said this, we help so many people get off of PPOs. Our goal is not to have you be out of network and like completely PPO free. We have so many people that do that and they're completely private practice. The whole idea is just reducing the influence of PPO in your practice. And Barrett, you said this a couple TTTs ago. You got to think like an out-of-network office before you actually drop PPOs. Sometimes people think, I'll just drop PPOs and that'll solve all my problems. No, you got to get good at verbal skills. You got to bill your full fee. You got to help people pay for dentistry. You got to get everybody locked in on how we communicate first before we pull the trigger, right?
Absolutely. You got to walk the talk before you pull that trigger. And we love when people are able to increase their profit margin by reducing PPOs if it's right for them and if they do it the right way. There's a very predictable way to do it successfully. And deviating too far from that process sets you up for failure.
It does. So I'm going to walk you through. You can actually shrink the gap in the effort gap without dropping PPOs. And there's a couple steps. Number one, just understand your write-offs. Fully embrace your write-offs. We have people that we meet and they go, well, I'm only writing off 10%. I'm like, no, you're not. And then we pull their information. They have no idea what they're writing off. So you have to understand your write-offs. And if you struggle with this, we have our BPA app. I mentioned that before. We have 2 courses that walk you through this process. You can have this for free. If you're listening, just go there now. Go there and search on your apps, Best Practices Association, and you're going to get into BPA Basic. And you can download the app and you can go to work on this right now. Actually, do it after the webinar. You don't do it right now. But you can do our PPO Freedom Quick Start course, which is a quick course in how to understand these. And then if you upgrade to premium, we walk you through your whole team can go through this step by step by step. We work hard at this. And Miranda Beeson, our director of education, has orchestrated all this back there. So just one more thing. When you go back there, this is what it's going to look like. It says social networking. We're going to, it's not really a social network. It is a networking thing, but it's more of a CE app. And this is what it looks like. So if you're surfing back there, that's what it looks like. The second thing you can do to shrink the gap is compare your fees. You have to analyze your adjustments. Your fees, if you're listening to this webinar, your fees should be in the 75th to the 95th percentile. The other thing is you should always bill full fee, and you should be looking at all the time. It's amazing how many great dentists, they're charging 50% of their fee in their zip code, and we're providers of the NDAS. If you want help with that, you can just reach out to us. We'll help you. And if you're just struggling, sometimes you just need a coach to say, hey, listen, your fees got to go up. Your fees have to be with your care, skill, and judgment. So you got to compare your fees in that whole process. Number 3, this is an easy one. Just fill your chairs. When your chairs are not full all the time, every day with the right type of patients, I can already tell you you're losing money and you are exhausted. And back in the BPA, we have what's called our capacity tracker. It's super easy. You can show it to your team. You can ask your team to fill this in. And what they do is they hold themselves responsible for keeping the chairs full. They don't throw it at the front desk team member. They don't say that's not my responsibility. Everybody takes responsibility for filling their chairs with the right type of person. We walk you through the verbiage, how all that works. But here's the important piece to understand. Your chairs have to be full. When you have one cancellation in hygiene in an 8-hour day, you've cut the profit in half. A second cancellation, you're now working for free in an 8-hour day. And if you have a third cancellation in any hygiene column, you are working at a deficit. It actually makes more financial sense to send the remaining 5 patients home and the hygienist home because you're losing money. Now, that's silly. No one would do that. But you have to keep those chairs full. The other thing you have to do is you got to analyze your active patients. You've got to be able to organize them. Some people don't even know how many patients are uninsured or out of network. They don't even have a clue. They're only focused on what? How many Delta patients I have. Like that's silly. You should know how many people pay your full fee and how many of them don't. And we have a great tool which helps you analyze your segments. The first segment is going to be the patients that don't have any insurance and they pay your full fee. And you'll be able to use real data. Here's the important point. If you don't do this, you're telling yourself a story. When you do this, all the data tells you the truth. Data doesn't lie. It just tells you what's going on in your practice. And your challenge without dropping PPOs is just to grow the segment of the people that pay your full fee, which means you just focus on how do we grow that segment. More on that later. Then you've got to be able to maximize your schedule. A lot of dentists have just hot messes for schedule. They're just squeezing patients in all the time. Organizing your schedule, color coding, and blocking your schedule for the ideal day for you, you can grow your practice significantly. There are a lot of people that come to us and are like, I got to get rid of PPOs. I'm like, no, your schedule's a mess. Can we just organize your schedule? and get your brain around your time. And they're seeing patients in the evenings and Saturdays. So here's my point: organize your time first, then get people to come in the time that you work. And now we can start talking about the other stuff. And then the other thing is do more dentistry per visit. Here's an important data piece that you should know is your APV. And Barrett, I know this is one of your favorite. I want you to, what's APV as a dentist?
Yeah, APV is called annual patient value. And to calculate it, it's simply your active patient number. And we define active patients by they've been in your office within 18 months. You take that number and you divide by your collections over the last 12 months. So basically, how much money did you bring in the last 12 months divided by your active patients? It gives you a dollar value. And basically, APV in one metric tells the production story of your practice. Meaning, if your APV is low, $200, $300, that means you do a little bit of dentistry and a lot of patients to get to your $1 million of collections. If your APV is $1,000 or more, which we see in a lot of our best fee-for-service practices, that means you do a lot of dentistry on fewer patients. So it's a volume game. Those of you that are clients or have been on this, you've heard us talk about high volume per low volume. And APV is the one metric that can tell a big story in one number. Do we do a little bit of dentistry on a lot of patients or a lot of dentistry on a little of patients? Both can get there, but you can see there's different strategies, there's different skills, there's a different pace of the day, there's different operational strategies needed to be successful in each. And in our coaching, what we often find is clients say they want to be one, but the proof proves the other. That they're trying to be A, but they're competing in a method of B, where they want to be multidisciplinary, want to be comprehensive, want to be a high APV, but the things they're doing and the systems they're setting up and their behaviors are enabling, promoting, or putting them further into the other model. So I had a great experience today, and I want to tie this all together. So I had a gaps analysis call with one of our To the Top study club members, and I didn't get her permission to share, but her name's Carly. And she's great, and she's got an awesome practice. And she told me a story that she joined, like from 2017, when she bought this practice to today, it has like tripled. And largely, she said, I'm like, what? How did you do it? She said, I joined the To the Top study club, and I just did what you guys said to do. And I'm like, well, that's great, and thank you for all that. But she did the hard work. But the story is she set up habits, she set up systems, she's looking at her gaps. And now she's in a place in her career where we're looking at her gaps and we're like, you have a nice profit margin set up. And what that does is that sets her up for the future to be able to make decisions that allow her practice to support her life. Now she can say, how many days am I going to work? And how much production per day do I need to do in order to meet my financial goals? What's my overhead? She knows exactly, she'll be able to in the next year in 2025, pretty much predict exactly how much she's going to make based on knowing her gaps. She also has one last PPO. We talked about what's needed to be able to do that. We talked about the PPO roadmap. If you imagine, you know exactly how many patients you have. You know how many of those are in network versus out of network. You know your profit margin on each patient segment. You know that my APV is this. So if I lose 30% of these patients in PPO, but now my revenue per patient goes up by 40%. We actually, for our clients, do a calculation where we're like, okay, you're dropping XYZ insurance. You can lose 42% of those patients and break even. If you lose 30% of your patients only, you're wildly more successful. If you only lose 20% of those, your net profit is through the roof. So my point in this is, yes, it's complex. Yes, it's a little confusing. Get into the BPA, do the BPO roadmap, and just start doing it step by step. Even if you have no intention ever of dropping a PPO, your business will improve greatly by going through the steps.
Amen, brother. Love that story.
Isn't it
love
great?
it. I love it. See,
good job, Carly.
Great job, Carly. We're school teachers at heart. We care about these these people. It's so amazing to hear that. Now, we talked about not dropping PPOs, but you can actually shrink the gap too by dropping PPOs. Now, this is a little bit more delicate, and this is a big piece of the work we do with a lot of different practices. They're like, I just got to. Dropping PPO successfully requires thoughtful intention. Again, we created an entire robust PPO roadmap. It's due diligence. Now, I'm going to warn you, when you do download this, you're going to go, this is a lot of steps. Yes, it is. But if you follow them, it's very, very carefully written and orchestrated so that you do this right. And every little thing you do, you're going to go, wow, that worked. Wow, that worked too. Step one in the PPO roadmap is understanding your write-offs. This is a deep dive into your write-offs and how you categorize them and how you use them on a regular basis. Now, you're going to see a lot of these resources. This is too much to look at. We love this stuff so much that we go deep into examples and how to rank your segments. So it's one thing for you to hear this, but I want you to see, like, when you go back there, you're going to see courses that we show you exactly how to do that and how to analyze each patient segment so that you are truly an expert on how to move away from PPOs. And it's all back there where you can ask questions and your team members can consume this too. So we got your back when you start to go down this road, because a lot of people are scared. And I'm here to tell you, you do this, you're going to be politely amazed by like how easy this can be, one tiny step at a time. You're going to lay the foundation too, which means that once you get all this homework done and you've made the decision to drop X, Y, Z, here, I'll just give you an example. Like, here's an easy one. Once you do the patient segments, you're going to say, oh my gosh, we only have 17 people on this insurance. Well, that's the first one you drop because it has little or no impact on your practice whatsoever. And you can practice with that small segment. And you're going to find out you're probably writing off 50%. So you're going to say, I don't even know, we shouldn't be doing this anyway. It gives you the experience and the knowledge to say, oh, I can do this again. You're thinking all of those 17 people are going to leave, but they won't. You'll learn how to tighten up your verbal skills. So then you can go to the next one. And that might be 400 patients before you get to the big one that's 1,000 patients. It's laid out so that you and your team can learn, and laying the foundation starts with communication with patients in advance. Don't send them a letter. You're going to see that. It's like we're going to prepare. We know our data, and then every time you're in the hygiene office, you're going to say, Mrs. Jones, couple changes that are coming ahead, and I just wanted you to know first because we care about you. You can sit knee to knee, eye to eye with them before they hear or learn about these changes you're going to make. Barrett, you had a thought.
Yeah. What you're saying is so important, meaning that dropping a PPO or going out of network is way more than just doing it. It's a communication strategy. It's selling yourself as the dentist. It is a very strategic decision. Now, again, no two practices are exactly alike. Now, we're going to have the same fears. We're going to have the same challenges, but just dropping XYZ insurance. Both practices, they look the same. They're both busy. They both are open 4 days. You could say they're the same practice, but one has 1,200 patients and 900 of those are on insurance. And one has 1,200 patients and 250 are on insurance, but both say I dropped XYZ insurance. It's totally different. Both probably should, and both can come out the other side super successful, but it's a different way to get there. It's a slightly different path. And the reason I portray that is take the time to study the numbers. Take the time to do this. Take the time to fill out these patient segments and understand every dollar of production for an out-of-patient network, I get X back. Every dollar of production in network, I get X back. I have X amount of my clientele is in this segment versus this. That is so important to know. And unfortunately, those that don't, that aren't clients that go through this, a lot skip that step. And it's a little bit of a hope and a prayer when we just randomly, quote unquote, drop XYZ insurance without doing the homework. So that's all I want to say.
I love it. I love it. And when you do the homework that Barrett's talking about, you're laying the foundation, your team knows what's coming ahead. And you not only have the data, but you also have the verbal skills. I say this, so like when you go in here, you're going to see there is a difference between do you take my insurance and are you in my network? Those are not the same questions. Your team has to be the best in the world and go, I love that question. Let me help you with that. And a lot of team members are not trained very well. My heart goes out to them because they're just trained to react. And in here, you're going to see, we walk you through step by step. Now, a couple other pieces in finding the money that's already in your dental practice is the collections gap. And this is a big one. The KPI here is actually net collections dollars. It's the dollar amount of the net production. You should collect 100%. I'm just going to say that up front. If your net collection, your net production is 100,000, you should collect 100,000. And we have a lot of practices. And when we talk about the next KPI, their net collections percentage actually goes to 104% or 100 because they're collecting money they should have collected years ago. Here's why we show you this gap. You have Susie at the front. Susie's really sweet. She came with the practice that you bought. And you're afraid to talk to Susie because Susie collects 94%. It's okay. That's how you've rationalized it. But you're leaving 6% on it. That's $6,000 a month. You're just leaving behind because you're afraid to help Susie get good at collecting money. You should collect 100%. And that's an easy win and an easy way to tighten up money that's owed to you that you should be collecting. Now, how to shrink the collections gap. Number one, compare your fees. We talked about that. You can't spend enough time trying to figure out your fees and your time and all of that. It's important. You also want to analyze the current financial policies and habits that you have in your practice. You have to train. Here, write this down. We teach people how to treat us. You have to teach people how to pay, how to show up, how it works. Here's a great phrase you guys can use tomorrow. Let me share with you how patients pay for dentistry here, which implies two things. Everybody else pays this way, and guess who else will? You will. You don't want to say, do you want to pay for this today? It's important that that person has the confidence in that. Now, if you struggle with that, we have a lot of tools and resources back there in the BPA. You also have to have a plan for managing accounts receivable. There's a huge liability that you have in your practice. People think AR is an asset. No, it's a liability in my mind. Like the more that you keep back there, its value declines. That's your retirement plan. There are some dentists we meet, their entire retirement plan is sitting in AR if they would just collect it. And if you're struggling with that, we have an extremely detailed step-by-step way on how to create best-in-class accounts receivable system. So don't let that just happen. Do it with intention. You also have to prepare for success in your daily huddle. You know, there's going to be people that owe you money. You got to teach people how to pay. One of the greatest things you can do in a morning huddle is say there's 3 people that owe us money. And the team member who's at the front should say they see me before they go back in the chair. The best way to fix the practice is in the schedule today to change some of the habits. And you can do that in the morning huddle. The morning huddle becomes a great instrument for changing your practice every single day. And practice makes perfect. Your team members just can't get information. Some of your team members might be watching this and say, this is great. Well, you have to practice it before you go live. And we love using a triad learning exercise, which means 2 team members work with a third party. And we've got a tool back there. I mean, even your financial policy, you can actually sit and practice it so that when you start to go through this, you're learning from each other and you're held accountable to the right way to do it. Not like, how should we do that? So you can use this exercise back there and you're going to see it has a tremendous impact. All of these steps shrink the collections gap. And again, each gap that gets shrunk adds $1 more to the bottom line. Now, I'm not going to go in the other gaps because I need 2 more hours. But as you can see, we shrink the effort gap. We shrink the collections gap. Now you just have a whole lot more money to play with in the overhead gap. And we talked about your overhead a little bit. We'll talk a little bit more here in just a second. And then ultimately what happens is it all falls to the bottom line. You've got your gross profit. And that's actually what you see on your P&L. What happens in your bank account. People don't account for taxes. I'll just say this out loud, is that your P&L is probably one of the worst things to run your business with. It helps you with expenses that you can use for tax purposes. but you don't see loans on there. You don't see taxes. You don't see any of that. You need an instrument, if you're a dentist, that shows where every potential dollar starts and where every actual dollar went down to zero, including taxes, including loan payments, all of those things so that you could properly analyze your practice. And you're going to find, we find this all the time with our docs. We put them on the GAPS program. Some of them are like, I don't want to do this. I'm like, you're going to do this. And as soon as they do it, the first thing they say is, why am I spending $4,000 a month on that? I'm like, I don't know. That's your practice. They find things they didn't even know about just by becoming aware. Every change process starts with the first step, whether it be AA, whether it be a fitness program, it starts with telling the truth. The gaps show you the truth about your practice. You don't have to like it, but it's the truth. And what you can do is you can improve it every single month. So let's make good on the promise that I made at the beginning and show you the profit blueprint and show you how to find some money. Now, this might be your practice, it may not, but this is a typical nice practice that we usually see. The ADA says the average dentist works about 220 days a year. We don't usually see that. That's pretty high, but let's say you're the average dentist working 220. Gross production, about 1.3 million. They've been doing some courses and they're writing up about 33%. That's usually in the lanes. We find somebody usually between 1.2 million and 2.1 million. That's usually where we find people in this range. Their write-offs are about 435,000, which means their net production is 884. Now, I'm going to go through this pretty quickly, but what we do and what you can do too, and I'm going to encourage you to take screenshots of this, is set incremental goals. I like making simple little goals that are smart, they're easy, they're attainable. So one of the goals is I work too hard. I'm going to challenge myself to go from 220 to 210. That's a pretty simple layup. In doing so, our production's not going to go up very much. I'm actually going to do this PPO roadmap, and we'll just start analyzing patient segments. Just by analyzing patient segments, I guarantee you, your write-offs will go down. If you do the work, you'll go, that's dumb. You'll do the segment, you go, that's just dumb. Why are we doing that? It's a great way to say, let's not do that anymore. And you're going to see ultimately what happens is little by little things get better. Just by reducing the write-offs by 3%, our net production goes up from 884 to 955. You can also make an incremental improvement here. We're going to teach Susie. She was at 95%. We're just going to teach her how to improve her verbal skills a little bit, simplify her, and we're going to improve that a little bit here. Our overhead, as a result, might go down a little bit. And I'll show you how this is going to work. We're now going to go to year 2, year 3, and this will be year 4. What you can see here is that we're going to make incremental changes. One of the best instruments is that you're thinking better about your days. Your gross production per day, we're going to start making you bill your full fee. And by organizing your schedule, you're going to be able to produce more. It's not about doing full mouth arches. You're just going to be smarter about your schedule and improving your APV. As a result, your gross production is going to go up. You continue down the path, get somebody to help you with the PPOs, analyze our segments, get better verbal skills. One by one, you can start to chisel away at this. And what you're going to see in this whole process, I'm not making this stuff up. People do it all the time. Our best docs don't work more than 190 days. Some of our best work in the low 180s, high 170s, and they love their life. And you can see in this particular practice how the metrics work. Now I'm going to go through each one of them in WOPA. Slowly and predictably, we're going to improve your practice. That was the first promise. We're going to go from 220 to 180. That's a reduction of 40 days. And that's 2 months a year less you're working. You're also going to increase your gross production by 2,000 a day. Now, I have the arrows in here, so let me just fast forward here. So as you can see, let me stop right here. Let me go back to here. Barrett, anything you'd say or add about this when you look at this? Because here, I wanted to show everybody that's watching this is that the cool piece about this, everything that we've laid out in the blueprint, we've laid out the steps, and you can actually create a sheet like this. And in each one of these categories, The ones that are in green, forget about the ones that are in gray because the ones in gray are automatically calculated. But the ones that are in green, you can set a handful of goals. You don't have to set 90 goals. In this particular example, you could set 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 goals. That's it. 8 financial goals. Look at them as 8 dials. I'm going to play with the first dial, play with the second dial, third dial, fourth dial. Every time you do it, you're going to add one more dollar to profit. You're also going to add one more notch to your confidence that you can be an entrepreneur and you can do this for a long term. And it also kills all the crazy stuff you have in your brain about where's dentistry going. You can feel very relaxed that I know how to control my profitability. Barrett, any thoughts as you look at this?
Well, I hope people that are with us today, first a little some rules in the chat. I've already posted the start code for the CE. I'll post the end code here shortly. I notified everyone that they're in the BPA. There's a gaps at a glance tool that walks you through this whole concept. Go in there, download it, and start plugging in your numbers. And this recording of this webinar will be posted in there in the BPA Basic within 7 days. And so you're going to have access to it. But I'm hoping that people at home are watching this and seeing that profitability or making more money, you're feeling good about the income based on your effort, you can plan for it. It's doesn't have to be a retroactive evaluation of how we did. You don't have to get to the end of the year and say, boy, I thought I would have made more. You literally can plan for success financially and then know if you're hitting it or not week over week, month over month by those 7 tabs that Kirk just said. How many days am I going to work? What do I need to produce each day based on how much write-offs I have and my collections rate and my salary, and you will know exactly how you're doing. And so if nothing else, just the number one concept is that by knowing these gaps, we can plan for our future, which is super exciting. And I was unable to do this most of my career. And once we figured this out, it was it takes a load of stress off your shoulders. It gives you that freedom to go do dentistry knowing I'm hitting my numbers and I'm going to make a number that I'm comfortable with and live a great life.
Yeah. I'm going to add a so you can use this. The real reason, and I'm going to encourage you to take a screenshot. The real reason you have to use this methodology is this. It gives you peace of mind for the future. All of you will experience this if you're a dentist. This is the story I tell, and it's already happened to many of our dentists. You're going to be driving to work, and you're going to see an apartment complex that's flat. And you're going to go, wow, that was a big piece of dirt. What are they building over there? And you'll wonder for weeks, what are they building there? And then you're going to go to your dental society meeting, and you're going to hear that somebody's building the hugest DSO building of all time in your neighborhood. It's 2-3 blocks away from your office. And you hear that they're going to have 22 ops. And they're not just going to do general dentistry. They're going to do ortho. They're going to do endo. They're going to do oral surgery. Oh, and they got peds too. They got pediatric dentistry. Oh, and they're not just open 9 to 5. They're open until 9 p.m., 5 days a week. Oh, and we're open on Saturday and Sunday from 7 to 7. Oh, and they're not just taking one insurance. They're taking every insurance under the sun. They don't have just one CBCT. They've got 3 of them. And they probably have a helicopter on top of the building that picks up their patients. And your first thought is, how am I going to compete with that? Oh my gosh, that's where dentistry's going. I'm here to tell you, it's going to be one of the greatest things that ever happened to you as an entrepreneur. Because if you know what you're doing and you know exactly how many patients you have, you only need 1,200 or 1,500 patients that pay your full fee. And you know what your profitability is. You can say, knock yourself out. You guys do peds all you want. You do oral surgery on Saturday and Sunday nights. Go, knock yourself out. First of all, you're going to get so many referrals from that practice for people who are wanting to have it done right. You can carve out your own little niche where you go, no, I love the way I do it. It also kills the craziness in your brain of like, maybe I should add more ops. Maybe I should get 6 more dentists. No, when you're making a ton of money and you're working not that hard for it, or you've got a good work-life balance and so does your team, it's the greatest thing ever. You can actually look at dentistry and go, dentistry is the greatest profession ever. And you could talk to a young kid and say, this is the greatest profession ever. Come on in. Let me show you my practice. And I'm going to show you how I do it. And the cool thing about dentistry is you can do it anyway. There's no rules. I'm going to leave you with some final takeaways, and then we'll answer some questions. But by addressing these effort gaps and these collection gaps and all of these other gaps, you can reduce your write-offs, you can improve collections. Every single gap you address and you make it healthier, you make one more dollar and you work less without adding any more patients or a ton of gross production to the mix. And when you understand the financial metrics, like collections percentage, like we shared earlier, and net production, like truly understand it, not just talk about it, you understand it. It empowers you to make really good decisions that reduce your stress and improve financial stability. And it's really about controlling your future. And lastly, when you can help your team get involved in this process, they're going to help you. They're going to want to see the practice succeed. And they know how to play with these levers or these dials, like reducing write-offs. They're going to come to you at some point and go, this is just a better place to work. I feel like we're doing better. We're making more. We're slowing down. We got the right type of patients now. So it lends itself to a great situation. So let's do this. Let's open it up for questions. I'll stop sharing.
Yeah, there's no questions. If anyone wants to answer a question, go or ask a question, go to the chat, throw it in there. While we're waiting for any, I'll just say this. We're saying take it slow and do it the right way. And I know a lot of you are like, that doesn't work for me. I'm willing to do that, but give me something I can start tomorrow. And so here's 3 things that you can literally start tomorrow or Monday to get into this process. 1, understand if you write your insurance write-offs correctly. PPO roadmap will walk you through that. But the first thing you can do is simply go to the last insurance in-network patient you remember doing a crown on. And you know your crown. Let's say you charge $1,200 for a crown. Most of you are going to find, if you haven't gone through some of this process, you're going to go to that Delta patient and you're going to see that the top line of the ledger says $800 because it's the UCR, whatever the UCR is for whatever insurance. And then you're going to go to the next out-of-network patient. Now you're going to see $1,200. And 80% of you that haven't gone through the PPO roadmap are going to find that because that's the easy way to do it. But what you're essentially doing, if your crown is billed out at $800 for insurance and $1,200 for out of network, you're underestimating or underreporting your output or your gross production by $400 times how many crowns you do per year. And now you tack on the same for all the resins. And so if you're billing your UCR, you're grossly underestimating your output. That's number 1. Number 2, what is the in collections gap? That first one is an effort gap. Number 2, what is the expected out-of-pocket responsibility on Monday? And then at the end of Monday, how much did you collect? Print your day sheet, and you will be not happy, some of you, that I came into the Home Depot. I know a refrigerator costs $1,000, but as the customer, I somehow got out with only paying $400. That's what's happening in a lot of practices. And that's nothing more than a mindset and an expectation. We collect out of pocket. We collect all of out of pocket. And if we're not, we're going to come up with we're going to set a written policy for how to do that in short amount of time. Number 3, you're going to pull your P&L statement. If you've never done the gaps yet, pull your P&L statement and you're going to just study it line by line, the expanded format of your QuickBooks, and you're going to look at every expense. And you're just going to understand what you're spending money on. And number 4, many of you have probably never heard of this. You have to pull your cash flow statement. So you saw below in a different webinar and at the gaps at a glance, you'll go into cash flow. But when Kirk is talking about taxes and loan payments, that's in your cash flow. So 1, I just want you to understand if I have a cash flow statement and how to get it. Those are 4 things that if you do on Monday, you're going to learn so much and you'll be well on your way. Now pull the PPO roadmap, start from the beginning and go down.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. There's so many thoughts that I have. One of the questions in the chat is Patricia asked, is the gaps at a glance on an episode? If you email Lindsay, she's an amazing team member of ours. She's basically our BPA concierge. She'll show you exactly where to find it, and she's awesomely helpful back there. So she'll
Yeah,
be your
that's a good point. The recording of this is in basic, but
yes.
the tools are behind the premium paywall. So, Patricia, you'll have to just upgrade to premium. It's $99 a month, and you'll have the gaps at a glance as well as all our other resources. So it's a ridiculously cheap upgrade, and you'll have access to that. And beyond and we have within there, we have tons of webinars, tons of seminars on the gap. So this webinar for sure, but we did a whole seminar, two-part seminar on the gaps that's behind that in the premium. So you just have to upgrade to that next level. But even if you're at the basic, there's hours and hours on this topic that you can dig in for free, and we'd welcome you to do that.
Yeah, totally. So a lot of you have questions. I'm just going to encourage you to go back there and get in the BPA, start for free, upgrade to premium. We now have the ability for you to add your team. So just to let you know what that means, we have an office manager study club coming soon for the general public. We also have a hygiene study club with all of that in there. And then we're going to be adding a dental assistant study club. So all these resources, team members feel a little lost at times. Mm-hmm. And now they have their own special place to go where dentists aren't. And they can ask questions and get all the support that they need in these resources. So it's a lot of fun. So join us back there in the BPA.
My phone has been dinging, and I've been watching a lot of you sign up. And I just want to say thank you. Thanks for your trust. Thanks for being here. We want you to join this new community. There's a missing gap in dentistry, and it's trust, and it's surrounding yourself with the right people. And we're here to fill that gap for you. And so those of you that are joining us in the PPA, we feel privileged to have you.
Yeah, we're building an amazing community. You're going to see there's over 1,000 people back there already. We'd love to have you. So join us. Come on back to the BPA. We're adding resources every single week back there that people want. Back there, you'll find the solutions to all the problems you have as a dental practice. I've spent 30 years. I'm a geek. I love this stuff. We're just adding resource after resource after resource so that you can feel supported to create a better practice and better life. So join us back there. Barrett, thanks for being on, brother. Appreciate you.
My pleasure. I had a great time.
Thank you guys for joining, and keep sending us suggestions, things you guys want to see. And the conversation continues back in the BPA. So until we see you guys next time, or you hear from us next time, keep tuning in, and more good stuff on the way. Have a great day, everybody.